The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Yeah, much better performance. A lot of positives to take from that. The result ultimately wasn't what we wanted. I thought we created more than enough to win the game, but I think when you take things in context with the performance of the weekend, the nature of the goals, the nature of the way that I thought we laid down and just allowed Birmingham to beat us, it was a really, really good reaction. We've got to be better than that in terms of waiting for that sort of performance and result, but it's definitely something to build on. Yeah, and a clean sheet was the bare minimum tonight, and to be honest, the performance was the next thing. I thought in the first half we were a bit tentative. We were probably playing like a side a little bit low on confidence, and we wanted to try and strip things back for the lads and make everything a little bit easier and a little bit more straightforward. And we didn't quite get going, and probably until the second half, where I thought we were a much better side and created more than enough to win the game, but didn't put the ball in the back of the net. We were miles more aggressive and much more solid, much more aggressive. We had a bit more fight about us, or a load more fight about us, and that was the disappointment on Saturday. It wasn't the fact that we lost the game to clearly a very good Birmingham side who won 4-0 again last night. It was the fact that the way that we did it, the nature of how poor we were and how easily we allowed Birmingham to turn us over. So I think just as a basic, when you put on the Portsmouth shirt, having that fight and having that determination is what we need, and we need to make sure we keep going with that. We wanted to do it in the first half, but the first 5-10 minutes of the game was very stop-start, and there were some long goal kicks, and we took a couple of minutes over, a couple of free kicks we tried to set up as well. So it was about getting the tempo back into the game and just saying, look, when we do turn the ball over, when we win it back, let's be a bit more positive. Let's try and go forward. We went back to the goalkeeper too much in the first half, and can we find that pass? Can we find Chappers, Murph, Colby on the turnover and really get at them from there? So unfortunately, we didn't. Yeah, brilliant to have him back. We know what Murph's about. We know what he's capable of, and just having him back out on the pitch gave us a huge threat. And the only thing that was missing, I think, was an assist and a goal. Nothing we can do about I think we put plenty of balls in the box. Had a good couple of chances as well, and some very, very good saves. And it was great to have him back. I thought it was just the finishing and some of to be fair, some of the blocking and some of the saves made were outstanding. I think if you look at some of the best chances, Ibs' header, I think he does everything right, heads it down, the goalkeeper makes the save. Chappers cuts in on his left foot, it's blocked off the line. We had a couple of others, Murph at the back post, 2 blocked off the line, and then that save from the goalkeeper as well down to his right. So I thought we did everything very, very well. Maybe just until that final moment, we just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And I just think on another day, with some of the confidence that we need to build on with the lads, one of those goes in. Yeah, I think if you think about the big moments for Wrexham, there was the save in the first half from Joe from Kiefer Moore's header, very similar to Iban's one. So apart from that, I thought we were relatively solid. And then the second half, the majority of the play was to my left. On the break, Wrexham caused us that problem. It was a massive save from Joe, I think, at that time. I just think having had that period of dominance and not actually creating anything, if we'd gone a goal down and maybe lost the game, I think it would have been a real hammer blow. So fair play to Joe, because I think his goalkeeping since he's come into the side has been outstanding. Yeah, I thought the sheer number of changes, I don't think, or I hope, wouldn't have surprised anyone on the back of the weekend. I think we needed it just in terms of freshness. We obviously needed it in terms of performance, and ultimately we changed shape, mainly to deal with Wrexham's threat going forward. And we'd spoken about it already on Friday night, probably made the decision there. It wasn't a reaction to us actually losing the game in the manner that we did the weekend, but it did make us a lot more solid. We wanted to be very aggressive on the press, but also be solid in behind, and I thought it gave us that.
John Messino speaking after the game and saying that he didn't think anybody was at all surprised or would be surprised with 7 changes. Well, we were. I don't know about you, dear listener. We were surprised. It's a substantial amount of changes, but it worked, and it meant that John Messino's message to all of his squad, you are all up for selection. If you do everything right in training, and if you get a run out either as a sub or maybe we start you, and you do everything right, then you are bang in contention for a regular starting place in the starting lineup. So that's another benefit from the brave decision that he made to impose not 1 but 7 changes on the side that went belly up against Birmingham, and it worked. And he says, doesn't he? He said elsewhere that part of his job is about taking risks. And if it doesn't work, take it on the chin. He took the risk. He chose to take the risk, and it was his fault that it didn't work out, and he is prepared to take that. I hope he can go home and stroke the cat rather than kick the cat after Wrexham and in the build-up towards Hull, and at some point look at himself in the mirror and say, do you know what, John? The simple fact of the matter is somebody up there likes you. 9 times out of 10, when you take the risk, you make it work.
Eben Boat said this after the game.
It was a good reaction after a poor result last weekend. We really amended that today. It was unfortunate not to put the ball in the back of the net, but it's a clean sheet, and there was a lot to take forward into the next game. There were plenty of positive signs. Especially defensively, we were more solid, and going forward we were creating a lot more chances, getting shots on goal, and it helped having players coming in to give us that extra boost. There's a lot of positives to take, but it's unfortunate that we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. There's a lot we can learn from last weekend's game and amend and be better. The Championship is not an easy league, so in this moment it's important to stick together and remember what we are good at. We have to get the crowd behind us and work on the fundamentals, being solid, and the rest will take care of itself, which is what we saw today. We've gone back to the drawing board and worked on a few things and made sure to sort that out. Especially at home, we haven't been getting great results, and we are really trying to work hard and change that narrative and be a harder team to beat at home, like we were last season. It was really important to bounce back from that defeat.
Now, is it Pompey had a curious time of it with injuries over the last couple or 3 seasons? If we cast our minds back to the last part of Danny Cowley's tenure as Pompey manager with his bro, there was a sort of well-kept secret about the possibility that there was a difference of opinion between the coaching staff and the medical staff. And one member of the medical staff even went so far as to criticise Danny Cowley's approach when it comes to injury and exposing players to the kind of duress that can exacerbate or even trigger injuries. And that was vaguely resolved behind the scenes. But anyway, people went their separate ways. And so we moved on because football fans are always interested in the next game and the next season and the future. But there have been a number of curiosities attached to Pompey's injury list in very recent times. Now, it's fashionable to say that lots of other clubs are also having injury crises, and I'm sure it's true. You go to any website, official or unofficial, of any club in the Championship, and you will see them bemoaning the fact that they've got so many people out with injury. And the injuries tend to be consistent with the type of injuries that we're dealing with, hamstrings and ACLs, is it? They seem to be the most common. Obviously, there's impact injuries and knocks and dead legs and bruises and twisted ankles and what have you. But I don't think any club in the Championship, possibly even in the whole of the 4 divisions, can compare to some of the strange injuries that Pompey have had to manage. First of all, there was the extraordinary story, yet I think to be enshrined in a book or even a TV documentary, surrounding Colby Bishop's heart condition. An extraordinary story. Open heart surgery and back 3 or 4 months ahead of the most optimistic prediction and scoring goals. Great story. Good for him. Good for the medical people. Good for the surgeons. Wonderful story. Unique. Nobody else has got one like that if you're starting to go around pulling rank. And nobody else has got a story quite like Franco Ume, who we bought. It turns out lots of people thought we borrowed him, that he was a loanee, but we bought him. Lock, stock and barrel, he's ours. Except when we bought him, he couldn't play football because he was injured. He was carrying an injury. And I think we were justified in thinking that we would get to see this apparently big, athletic, fast, capable guy who can play either as a wide player or as a number 9 because he's got the physique and presumably the ability and he knows where the back of the net is. We thought we'd be seeing him within a few weeks. We thought you don't buy a player who's carrying an injury and then in the summer transfer window and then not get to see him play football until the Christmas decorations are going up. Did we know that that was the prognosis, if that's the right word? You hear it bandied about a lot when people are talking about when are you going to be better? When's he going to get better? When are the stitches coming out? So on and so forth, the prognosis. I don't think any of us expected that. And apparently he's still not. He's training. I read somewhere. You don't know. You get all sorts of cross information coming at you about players and their injuries because, as we often say on Pompey Sound, a player's injury is his business. He's got a career to think of. He doesn't want to be known as injury prone. So the club respect that and respect his privacy with regard to his injury and the way in which it's treated and the degree of full recovery and flexibility that the player enjoys post-injury. So that was an unusual one. I don't think there are many people in the Championship, maybe nobody at all, and many people in the whole 4 divisions, maybe none at all, who bought a player who was injured and were unable to play him for, what is it now, August, September, October, November, 6 weeks, it's nearly getting on for 6 months. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but you see my point. And then we come to the man we've just been listening to, who bounced back after a pretty nightmarish game against Birmingham playing at left back. Yep, I'm talking about Wrexham Boat. He bounced back and played as one of 3 centre halves on the left side. He's a left-sided player, left-footed player, and he played really well, didn't he? And that was something. Coming back from a nightmarish game against Birmingham where he got really skinned and doing, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a 5-star performance, but it was more than good enough, wasn't it? He's got a lot to offer, this lad, and he's got versatility, which is dynamite as far as John Messino is concerned. If you can play in a number of positions, you are a John Messino player. And he can, and he does, and he will. I think there's every chance he'll be a mainstay. He's got the potential. But back to the injury thing. Do you remember he arrived? A fanfare. I think it was the last day of the season. We were looking to shore up our centre halves. He became available. He was with Fulham. Fulham obviously thought pretty highly of him, but didn't think that he was a Premier League player yet. So we snapped him up. And then he went out onto the training ground. He may never have put on a Pompey shirt, apart from the de rigueur photograph of a player who's just arrived. That's the only time he'd put on a Pompey shirt before he went out onto the training ground, and with nobody within shouting distance of him, had a swat at goal. Decided he would bulge the net. We all want to do that, even if we're centre halves. We all want to hit one from 25 yards out and it goes screaming underneath the bar and in. Even if there's no keeper there, the feeling, the sensation is delicious. So he did it. He kicked a football. Out for a year. Out for a year! What did the young man do? What do you do if you're a professional footballer, a young athlete like he is still, and you can't play football, but that's your job? What did he do? I guess he was able to exercise the rest of his body. So he would come to the club, he would go to the gym, but he couldn't run around. So what did he do? Couldn't play golf, if golf might have been his thing. Footballers used to play golf every afternoon. I think they tend not to nowadays. Don't know what they do, apart from watch Four in a Bed and come dine with me. But he was reduced to that. He might have been able to stay at home. He might have been able to carry on living where he'd been living when he was with Fulham, which is more likely, obviously, in the suburbs of London, and come down to be monitored and to do some exercising, some work in the gym with the medical team. But the point is this, he survived it. It can't have been easy. It would have driven the average person a little bit stir crazy. But he's done it. And he is now back, and he is now a frontline player with John Messino's, I'm going to say revitalised. I am going to say revitalised Portsmouth. That Wrexham performance was good. And Boet, who is a left back, a left-sided centre half, or one of 3 centre halves if we're playing 3 at the back. And we ain't seen the last of him. Well done, Mr. Boat.
Football news agency The 72 asked their experts for their predictions for Hull. Harry Mayle said, Hull City will be disappointed to have lost against Derby County last time out. HCAFC will feel they deserved at least a draw against the Rams before a defensive mix-up led to their opponent's winner near the end. The Tigers put in another decent display at Pride Park, especially in the second half. If they play like that again this weekend, they will fancy their chances. Portsmouth have been struggling for wins recently. They are too close to the drop zone for comfort at the moment. Pompey are winless in their last 5 outings. I think it will be a close match on Saturday, but I can see the hosts sneaking the 3 points. Prediction: Hull City 2, Portsmouth 1. James Ray. Hull City are dealing with a fair few injury problems, but, as often seems to be the case, so are Portsmouth. It comes down to who has more momentum coming into this one, and that is comfortably HCAFC. They may have been beaten in the week, but it has been a largely impressive campaign to date for the Tigers, and I think they've got more than enough firepower to overcome Pompey here. No one has scored less than Portsmouth, which is definitely a worry. That will be a source of comfort for Hull City given their defensive troubles. I'll be backing a home win here. Prediction: Hull City 2, Portsmouth 0.
Yeah, the football news agency, the 72, publish their work on their website. It gets picked up in various other places, such as Pompey Sound. And there's 2 things that are worth saying on the back end of their predictions for the Hull game. And the first one is that I think they're wrong, because Hull don't have the momentum any longer going into this game. Pompey do. We took apart a side that beat Coventry in their previous game. And Hull go into the game against us on the back of a defeat to Derby, wasn't it? Which is not something to write home about. So I don't think the momentum is with Hull. I'm not saying there is great momentum with us, but it's worth remembering, and it wasn't mentioned by either of those football experts, I'm sure they're aware of it, that Pompey actually this season have been marginally better away from home than at home. And at home, in the week, we took Wrexham apart, just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. That is a separate problem, and hopefully they're working on that at Fratton Park as we speak, as they say. But we have the advantage of being the away side. So that's the first thing. I think their predictions that we're going to lose at Hull could come unstuck. Hope so anyway. The second thing is, I don't know about anybody else, I don't like this use of acronyms instead of a club's name. Hull are Hull. No, football fans don't say even Hull City. They don't. We don't. We say Hull. Who have you got on Saturday? Hull. We don't say Hull City. Maybe 1 or 2 pedants do. But we definitely don't say, who have you got on Saturday? We've got HCAFC. Both of those football experts refer to Hull, for they are Hull. And it doesn't matter if you use the word Hull 3 times in one paragraph. It just doesn't. But to call them HCAFC is a diversion. It makes you stop and think, oh yeah, Hull City Athletic Football Club? I mean, everybody's got an FC. Do we ever get referred to as PFC? No, we don't. Increasingly, we are referred to as Pompey. I think the day might dawn. Pompey fans will probably be resistant to it because they don't want it to reflect badly on their home city of Portsmouth. They don't want to lose the name of Portsmouth. They don't want the football results to read, on screen, on television, in the newspapers. They don't want it to read Hull 0, Pompey 2, even if that is the score. And we know exactly who we're talking about because in official parlance, we are Portsmouth, okay? Not Pompey. HCAFC is absurd, isn't it? Although I see that the Oxford Dictionary has just published a list of new words, and one of them is an acronym that's quite amusing. It's Henry. You are a Henry if you are a high-earning, not yet rich. No. Yeah. Not yet, Henry. Not rich yet. There we are. You are a high-earning, not rich yet individuals. Now, that's a nice one because it trips off the tongue. But HCAFC, when pronounced as a word, is Hakafk, which is far too Welsh for anybody's comfort.